Hey, everybody, how's it going? This is Rob Turley with Down the Rabbit Hole podcast, your gracious host. Sometimes gracious, sometimes rude, sometimes I piss people off, but that's all okay. Today, I have a very special guest with me. Very excited to have him. He is just a bundle of energy. The guy's awesome. He has done pretty much everything under the sun and he is now a senior power lifter, which is incredible. I'm very happy to say that because I used to be a power lifter myself until I got into that massive accident, which that's a whole different story on its own. But today I have Denis Champagne. He is an incredible salesperson. He's been around the block a bunch of times, and he used to be a professional athlete, which is pretty awesome too. There's not many of those that you get to meet in the business world, right? So Denis, please.
Thank you, Rob, for inviting me. It's great to be here. I'm equally impressed with you and all the things that I've learned of you. And I'm looking forward to this exchange today.
Of course. Anything about yourself, about how you got to where you were that you'd like to add for a little bit of context for everybody would be great.
Okay. Well, in my earlier years, I was a squash and racquetball professional, indoor racket sports. I did that for about 10 or 12 years until I had the hunger for other adventures in my life. And as such, I was offered several opportunities to do some business because, in the club pro business, you meet all kinds of business people and, they notice things, and I had endeavored in that before. I've been self-employed now for 32 years. I had a call center. Then I got into some hip hop music for a while and a label owner and a manager. And so that was fun. But I lost everything and I started back at zero.
That sounds about right for the situation.
Exactly. But what a trip. And, life is about living your trip and your dreams. And, it's not all about just the pecuniary or monetary benefits. There's a lot of non-monetary income that we have to generate. That's what I thought. And as such, I started working in helping companies open doors. There's a big problem is most companies have a poor prospecting method or manner or approach. And so I love that to reach out. So I devoted myself to learning the art and the science of prospecting. And after about 14 years of doing that, now I decided to pass the baton by coaching others and giving them, the benefit of some of my experience and a methodology that I've created and coach prospecting to go to the C-suite for SDRs and AEs.
That's awesome. And honestly, the opening is an art, just like anything. If you're at a bar, hitting on women, men, whatever you're into, that is an art. It's the same thing in business. It's an art. And it's not as easy as it sounds. There's no logical first, second, third step. It's all emotionally challenging because people will make the initial decision to do something or act based off of the limbic system, which is the lizard brain, as people know it. And then they just justify their emotional decision using their neocortex, which is logic is only used for justification of an emotional decision in almost every single case. So when you are approaching these people, it needs to be done masterfully, tactfully, but not in a way that's going to make them feel attacked and not being sold to. No one wants to be sold to, no one wants to be sold, but people love to buy shit. So how do you help someone make the decision and understand that the problem they need to solve is to buy something that it is that you sell, but without approaching them for a sale? What is the key that you hold that is approaching someone to sell to them without directly selling to them? Because this is one of the biggest gaps in all of sales, in my opinion, and from working with hundreds of people, is that the largest gap is that opening to get them started, because you don't just walk up to someone and pitch them. Whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's in a bakery, you don't just say, hey, buy my stuff. Like, no, that's never going to work in any freaking world unless the person's desperate for it or you're the only choice. There's no competition. What do you do differently that gets people there?
Well, I mean, I made all those mistakes. I made some mistakes, obviously. I mean, mistakes are the foundation of success. Yeah. So I've probably made more mistakes than a lot of you guys right now because of my age and my years of doing this. But, because of the context in which I worked was mostly B2B, going to executives or upper management. Nobody wants to give you the time if you don't have something of value to give to them. So how do I do it, or how do I suggest or coach to do it is let's establish first the T. My methodology now is teams, TEAMMS. So target is the first, execution is the second, account for is the third, measure is the fourth, manage is the fifth, and S is the success. So target is preparing yourself before you call someone. Know what you talk about, know your stuff, know your SHIT, and prepare yourself by understanding the company, understand the industry, and understand the individual. There are three parts. So the industry, the people, the company that you're approaching, and that executive, if you can know something about him, it's not a bad thing. It just makes it's humanizing the process. I come with the mindset not to make a sale or to sell, like you said, anything. Selling can be defined in many ways. Selling is the transference of belief and feelings. That's my definition. It was also the definition of Zig Ziglar, who was my mentor 40 years ago. It still applies. Emotional quotient is still essential to succeed. As a matter of fact, I think more people lack that part and are so technologically great, but when it comes to connecting with people, they're still failing because they have a lot of, pressure from their boss or from their situation to get a deal. So selling is really connecting with a human being with relevance and bravado, but it's relevance. Relevance is the number one quality. You got to come to him or her and say, I understand your problems, and you explain to them that you have a deep understanding of their problems, so that when they listen to you with your calmness, your voice at the beginning, the first seconds are fundamentally crucial to establish calmness, a sense that she knows or he knows you're calling to have a conversation. It's like
the last thing that you want, though, is that amygdala firing off, which is fight or flight. That's the part of your brain. It's fight or flight. It gets the adrenaline pumping. And if they don't feel safe, if they don't feel calm or like you're calm or that you have the expertise or that you are managing their time well, your own time well, they'll start having their amygdala fire off. It's also like that with sales that are too aggressive, too straightforward, or aren't helping solve a problem. And in a lot of cases, if value is not being delivered, it's the flight that kicks in because they feel like they're wasting their time. It gets them panicky, start tapping. Like if someone is going like this, I mean, you can read body language too. If someone's going like this with their fingers and just tapping their hand like that while you're talking to them, they are impatient. They are very impatient, and they're already done having the conversation.
Yeah. So there's different points of views on that, but the way I see it and the way I've succeeded is, calming them down, having a call as if I'm calling you or calling Dylan or calling a friend. Hey, how you doing? And listen, I know I'm busy. I know you're busy. My name is so-and-so, and I'm from such and such. And there's a method for that I help, especially the first 10 to 15 seconds. Once you pass over that, you have a second barrier, and then you got to bring value. Now you bring your value to the table. You've established.
That's when it becomes 2 minutes, right?
Well, even less than that. It can happen quickly. Depends. Like what I'm looking for in my method or my approach is I'm looking for them to tell me that when I ask them how have they been, I want them to give me an answer to that. So how have you been? They go, yeah, I've been okay. How? And what I'm looking for there is them to ask back to me, how am I doing?
That's true. Because if they don't ask you, they don't care.
Well, sometimes they're caught on something else, but if you can get them to ask you, then if they interrupt you, say, well, you asked me how I am, so I'm just answering, and you laugh because you want to calm them down. You don't want to be insincere, but you don't also want to be aggressively kind of acerbic and chopping to the block to the point. You engage. It's a conversation. It's two people finding that room together to establish a rapport of somewhat of a little bit of a semblance of trust. They sense, they hear you, and they go, and executives are not stupid. They've heard all kinds of voices and all kinds of people. So you approach them that way. They ask you, how have you been? And as soon as they ask me, how have I been? I let them know exactly how I've been. and I open up as though they're my best friend, and I tell them the stuff that's happened in the last 2 days. They go, "Hey, this guy's real. He's real. There's nothing to hide. He's talking about things." I said, "How can he be a salesman?" Almost like you're open. Your heart is open. Your mind is open. You want him to know that you are down to earth. The minute that happens, then I say, and you learn to gauge that, and then you say, "Listen, thank you. I appreciate it. I know you're busy, and you're so polite. I appreciate your kindness, but I will get to the point. Here it is." And you tell them, "Okay, XYZ problem occurs all the time. We have lots of clients doing the same thing as you. Has this happened to you? Is this something happening to you? We're just curious because we looked at your site, we got some information, and we thought, hey, we're not going to let you down. We're going to call you and find out if that's happening to you guys as well. We're just curious." And it's a matter of factly, relaxed exchange. And you're trying to discover them. You're curious. You're caringly curious.
Yeah, and a discovery is not a pitch.
It's an exploration together.
Salespeople often seem to forget that it's both of you. You are trying to help someone solve a problem.
Correct.
You're not selling them a solution. You are helping them solve a problem. If you cannot help them solve that problem, you back off. And I love how you're saying start with the how are you doing, break the ice, tell them exactly how you're doing. You already know I have a similar technique in that where I'll tell you how my day was, what I was doing the other day, how the weekend was and everything like that. Then they open up, they start talking about their personal life, and it's a whole different ball game.
Exactly.
They will now speak to you. The time of the meeting will go over and they'll still be talking to you, and they're not concerned about it. They're not saying, "I have a hard stop. We need to end here now." They're going to give you that time of day. It's all the difference.
Yeah. So that's a little bit the initial approach. Obviously, when I call them, I already know a lot about them, or at least I make the effort to find out a lot about them so that when we exchange, they go, "Hey, he knows us, and he may bring something to us that we don't already know. Don't call me to tell me what I already know. Bring me new information."
That myself, because I am an executive, and when I've had people call me, and they ask me if I need help with targeting. Do you know what I do for a living? Excuse Like, it's just laughable. It's like, where did this come from? You didn't even read my LinkedIn profile. That's one of the largest gaps in sales outside of the approach, not making it weird or aggressive or pitchy or, like you're a salesperson trying to, like a door-to-door salesperson, like, "Hey, buy this crap," is that people don't really understand how to do that research, or they find it as unimportant. It's because people are so tied to the volume, the high volume or volumetric approach to selling, where I'm going to get 1,000 no's and I'm going to get one yes, and I'm going to do it as fast as possible. The reason you're getting 1,000 no's, number one, because the target's off. Number two, because you're rushing. And then number three, because it's careless. And that carelessness comes from the lack of research. You don't care if they're a good fit or not. All you care about is a yes or a no, and then you just move on with your day and try to set it up. When you put in the proper research and the time, just like you're saying, when you add that empathetic approach to it, it becomes a whole different experience. It's like you're talking to a human being.
Yeah. So it depends also because, in certain BDR centers with a plethora of agents on the phone, they are subject to a different kind of sale approach. They are there to try to hook and get an appointment. But there is a big, big gap. And I think it's starting to bear its value by certain executives realizing that their team are not delivering on the promise in terms of numbers and metrics that really makes commercial sense. They say slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So if you take your time, your batting average, I used to have a call center, as I told you. So I had people dialing less fast, but they closed better. Others were rushing it through and not closing as many, and they got more tired. So that's my perspective. That's why I don't coach BDRs to call to sell a $15 a month publication or SaaS. license or a membership. It's executives with strategic problems that implies a bit of thinking before. I'll give an example. About a month and a half ago, I got on the phone. I happened to find the cell phone of the CEO of a big company in Louisiana. And I got on the phone with him and got really relaxed, the whole schmeal. And he said, hold on a second. Let me stop my car to park on the road so I can pay attention to what you're saying, because you're disrupting me positively. Like, this is really important. I want to talk about this.
That's beautiful.
And he stopped me, and then we took a 10 or 15 minutes. He says, please send me for tomorrow afternoon at such and such a time, and we'll extend and we'll continue our discussion. But yes, please. And you know that you've struck a chord when he says, do you still have my email correctly? Do you have my email? Is it?
He's making sure that you're getting the content to the right place.
Correct. So that it's wonderful, and it's a conversation, and you're there, you're provoking, you're invoking positive opportunities, identifying an ailment or identifying something that is what I call an MBI, main business issue. And then when you call, then you get yourself prepared. You talk with your colleagues, and you have a suite of questions, and you want to talk about them and their problems. I don't talk about my features, my functions, my benefit, nothing of that. That is 1992 talk. We're in 2021. Be a little bit more sophisticated. There's a plethora of tools and web-based information platforms with a wealth of information you can grasp, and get ready. It's worth all its weight in gold. It's like, we squat and we deadlift. Well, tomorrow, like I said, I want to reach, a higher weight, 410. Well, that 410 took me 2 years to get to 410. It didn't happen overnight, especially at my age. It's preceded by lots of preparations and some failure. My squat, I fail a few times at 375 before hitting 380. And then now I did 385 Friday. Now next week is this week it's 390. Like it's progressed. And if I fail, that's okay. I'll start back again. So think like an athlete. Think like Michael Jordan. Think like Kobe Bryant. There was a recording I saw a couple of days ago when I forget the name of the player. And he said, I decided I want to be the first at breakfast. I got all my gear set up. I came downstairs, and I see in the breakfast room Kobe, and he has ice on his knees, and he's sweaty. And I realized at that moment, shit, he's already trained before me, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning. And he had just lost the NBA championships like 4 days before. He started right back again. They get trained. Very few reps and salespeople bother to take the time to train, but those who do are the top salespeople, and they have a coach, they have a mentor, and they know they need to be accountable because someone else. I just saw a TED.com video of a surgeon who decided to get coached by another surgeon. And listen to this: it was a respected mentor from university that he asked to come on board to look at him. And so he went and he hired him, and he went through a surgery with him. And he thought, my performance was impeccable, until he saw the gentleman with a book full of notes.
Oh, yeah.
Of things. The guy got blown away. Salespeople also. But it takes courage to be coached, and it takes courage to be mentored. But absolutely, those who are willing to be what I call coachable are the ones who really succeed in sales. It's not easy, but it's bloody well worth it. And it's a lot of fun, and you get a lot of credible contacts and friendships and relationships of respect. They end up respecting you because you approach them correctly.
That's 100%. And it's not easy to be told what you're doing is wrong, or what you're doing, it could be done better. A lot of people shy away from that whole experience is that they don't want to hear it. And that's where it takes the courage, is that you have to be able to handle someone telling you there's a better way, or what you're doing is not effective, or you've slipped up here, or you made the wrong decision there.
Yeah. So that's why opening is so crucial nowadays, because people have access to information. So they already know a lot of stuff before you call them. So you got to bring to the table value add, or added value, and also humility. Executives are really impressed with someone who's humble and kind, and relevant, and has the right acumen. There's a suite of things that you need to do. But if you establish well initially a valuable business case for change, or an opportunity for a problem to be improved, and they don't know what your solution is yet because all you're talking about is their problem, they'll allow you to come to the table to earn the right to a conversation.
That's right. And that's something Marcus, who's my CRO, also my mentor, is you have to earn the right to do business with them. You need to earn the right to pitch them. You need to earn that. You need to earn their trust for them to do business with you. It's not you don't just spray your pitch or your sale all over them.
They say spray and pray.
Yeah. Spray and pray. And it's like it's attacking someone. If they invite you, like you're not going to walk up to a girl or a guy or whatever you like at a bar and just say, hey, you trying to get laid right now? Let's go. Like, you're not going to do that. That's called sexual assault. That's not how it works. And that's what people do when they pitch sell like that. It's very similar. You feel attacked. You feel like you've been wronged in some way. You almost feel a little bit dirty sometimes. If a salesperson who's really trying to, and I'm sure you've dealt with this a bunch of times, salesperson who's really trying to get you to buy now or almost even take advantage of you, you can feel it. You can feel it's almost like fear, where you're like, this person needs to get the hell away from me right now. I cannot be around this person. I don't want to talk to them. What they're doing is wrong. Like, you can feel it. If you're a salesperson and you understand that logic more so, rather than just being an executive, let's say you've never sold before, that's a different experience. It feels like fear. When you're a salesperson, you feel almost disgusted with them because you know exactly what they're doing. And it's so wrong. And you will not give them the time of day. And you're going to lose a lot of respect in the market that way, unless the person is truly naive.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think that in the state of sales coaching and training is changing, and that what's going on right now is people are starting to realize we have to shift the paradigm and help people to become more competent. You can't expect a baseball team to not practice or be trained or coached. Likewise, you have a sales team, and there's so many components to proper salesmanship that some people are maybe lacking in one area, while others it's another area. So you got to help your team to be competent. Competent means delivering value to the prospect that he wants to interact with you and wants to know more based on the value that you raised, the point you raised about their problems. And they go, oh my goodness, this guy knows my area, knows my expert. He's an expert in my domain.
Do you want to hear a terrifying statistic? Do you know what the average amount of money per annum is spent on training salespeople?
$5.
Oh, no, it's not that bad.
I know.
In the B2B space specifically.
Yeah, not a lot.
$2,500 per annum is spent on training salespeople, market-wide. What? How is that even possible? That's disgusting. And you're expecting your sales team to overperform when they're getting $2,500 of training? Okay, let's not think about this from a consumer perspective. $2,500, oh, that's a down payment on a car. No, this is business. $2,500 is a penny in a bucket. That's all it is. It's like they're flicking a penny at them and saying, yeah, figure it out. That's not going to work.
I trained, give an example of clients last year, took on 7 reps. Not in North America, not in South America. So it's another continent, a big continent. And, and not every single rep was super excited about being coached. The vice president and regional manager expected that. This vice president and regional manager that I served, he in his career closed the largest contract in the history of his company, $500 million contract.
Wow.
Alone.
Wow.
So he knew the value of prospecting, and he said, I need my team because we are bad in our top of funnel. Top of funnel is where it all happens. If you have a really good quality pipeline, you will be fine. You'll de-risk your win rates and, your win losses, at the end of the year. And I trained them for 12 weeks. Training is 12 weeks. It's a long time. And it was a fair good amount because obviously my fees are commensurate to what I know will generate because of me. So people are willing to invest because of my experience. Well, I got a chat with him on WhatsApp about a month and a half ago. He says we are now, after 1 year, 750% year on year in our funnel above.
That's beautiful.
So that what he invested in my services, it's paid for very easily. That's the thing. Your investment. I just had someone else today decide to get private coaching with me after a call, and he knows it's going to pay for itself. You just needed to find the kind of individual that's suits him culturally and otherwise.
Yeah, and that's what people need to understand too, is that picking your coach is very important. Where you may not be the right person. I may not be the right person. Marcus may not be the right person. Roderick may not be the right person. Justin might not be the right person either. But it's about finding that person that fits you, your personality, and your style, where it's just because they're good doesn't mean they're right for you.
Yeah. So to closing is no longer an issue. It's opening, if we agree. That was the theme of our discussion, is that if you approach them, you've done your research, you approach them correctly, and you're not afraid to really engage in the best way possible. And that means pattern interrupt, which means more than one outbound task within a sequence. So, and I was doing this way before I read the book Combo Prospecting from Tony Hughes. I was doing it just because that's the way I thought it was the best way. I was reaching people in Russia, in Saudi Arabia, in Africa, in South America, in China, because I was selling software for the aviation industry. Mm-hmm. So I had to use as many ways to reach out. Little did I know that later on, and even just recently, McKinsey came up with a research on the virtue of omni-channel prospecting. You must try to reach a person at least 3 times in 3 ways, depending on how you say it with your voice, how you write the tone. If you combine all the lines and right under one another because you may be reading on a phone, all of those kinds of knowledge. And, there's other people that are way smarter than I and experienced and knowledgeable about the finite and infinite details about that. But combo prospecting or, really omni-channel is because there's so many channels now. Go out and get to connect with that person in 3 attempts every single time you try. Those who say, well, I left a phone message yesterday, I'll email them tomorrow, and I'll go on LinkedIn Friday. No, do all 3 of them now. And I'm still prospecting as vice president for a client. And so I'm still prospecting. I don't stop prospecting. I coach it, but I also do what I coach.
Yeah, and you must practice. That's important because that's how it becomes stale. They have that issue at universities and colleges, is that the professor is profoundly talented, but they stopped working in the industry, so it becomes stale. It's out of date.
Correct.
It's checked out.
Correct.
But I like what you're saying, combo prospecting. I preach this as well, is multi-channel outreach is so important.
Sure.
If you're just sending emails, you're not going to get a result. If you're just calling, you're not going to get a result. You're going to get some results, but it's going to be the same results you got ever since the God knows when, and it's going to be the exact same thing, if not slowly dying. And that's the thing, is that if you call them and you leave a message, great. Send them a LinkedIn message. You sent them a LinkedIn message, great. Send them an email. You send them an email, great. Shoot them a text message.
Yeah, all of
the channel is so important because people are going to miss it. It's too noisy. And more channel. They say 3 or more channels at least They also say that, well, now since 2020, it's approximately 16 touches before you get a response.
If not more.
Yep.
But so, you know, it's three is fine. 4, you maybe, but 3 is really optimal. There's a magic to 3. That's why there are 3 medals in a competition.
People love 3s. The rule of 3. The rule of 3. It's just some bullshit psychological thing. It's not real.
Well, because there's a number of reasons, but one of them is because it's the most stable symbol in geometry. The triangle is the most stable. It's stable. There's also the Chinese astrology about wisdom coming from 330, the number in numerology.
Yep.
But it's just, you give them 3 choices: full price, full package, no gizmos on the car, and the midway, which is air conditioned and only maybe electrical buttons, but nothing else. And people, what they're going to do? They're going to go to the middle.
Yep.
Give them 3 choices: the best, the lowest, the midway. People go to the midway.
Yeah, and that's back to the primal thing, is that humans find comfort in meeting in the middle somewhere because they don't want to be on either extreme. They want to fit in.
That's right. So you see, it's a number of things. But if you don't discuss this, you don't apply it, you don't read about it, you don't seek counsel, you don't seek coaching, you'll never be able to hit that forehand or that backhand in tennis.
That's right.
Metaphorically speaking.
That's right. Couldn't agree more. That's awesome. And okay, I do have another question for you though. Just thought of this now. Is when you first met me, right? It was an interesting conversation that went, I think, an hour later than it should have, but it was great. What was the thing that you wanted to? And I don't mean this to like inflate myself or anything like that. I mean it like, what was the thing that attracted you to speaking with me, where you did that research that you did behind me and everything to start that conversation about potentially working together? What was that thing?
I think a couple of things. One is your confidence. Your voice is very confident. You may be saying something that's full of baloney, but you're confident in saying it, so it's easy to buy. I'm not saying that you speak very intelligently. You're obviously very passionate. And what you're talking about, because of the years and the decades of using lists and buying from Scott's and all kinds of other providers of lists over time, I knew that there was always an endemic and a consistent proverbial problem of quality of information on those lists. I used to actually sell lists way back with info.
Who did you sell for?
For a customer in Montreal that was providing these kinds of databases based on Info USA and Info Canada, which is a replicate plus D&B done in Bradstreet.
Yep.
And we would compile with SIC codes lists, the traditional from 18 years old, 18-year-olds, 18 years back. So I had a bit of a knowledge. And I always found it a little bit bogus, and they had to reorder every 2-3 months because the list wasn't, So when you talked about intent data and micro-targeting and reducing it to less leads, but better leads that are really, with a high propensity to connect with what you're offering, and they're at the right time. And I don't know all of what you do and how it's accomplished, but frankly, I don't care. I put my key in the car, I turn it, it runs, I ride with it.
Are you thinking about the pistons? Are you thinking about the fuel injectors? Are you thinking, yeah, who knows? Like, it doesn't matter.
Thirdly, you were introduced to me by someone I respect in that space. It was Justin Michael. So those were the 3, compelling factors that allowed me to justify, because that's what executives do. They have to allow themselves to justify the decision.
That's right. That's right. And then, so I'll do the same thing. The reason I want to do this is I'll do the same thing back to you. Why did I accept the conversation with you? Right. And this is coming from 2 executives. So this is interesting for the listener base, because why did we justify having a conversation and meeting one another? So that was the reason why. So number 1, I guess since we ended on Justin there, it's because Justin recommended I have a conversation with you, which is someone who I greatly respect as well. So that's good. Common connection. Correct. And an actual conversation that led to that connection, right? So that was a good motivator. The second piece was that in your background, I saw that you were involved in Olympic challenges. With like literally an Olympian. That I thought was interesting because I've never met someone who's participated.
I did not participate in the Olympics. I've never been. I've been.
Oh, you didn't do any?
No, I was elite squash player and pro in a club, and I competed professionally. In cycling, I was a master cyclist. I've done world championships and Pan Ams and national.
I saw the world championships.
But I was coached by an Olympian.
That's where it was then, because I read up on you on some of your cycling. Yeah,
like I suggest, and parenthetically, if you allow me, because it's apt to say it now. I made sure that I had the absolute best bloody good coach that I could find in my country, and he happens to be an absolutely amazing athlete who's been Mr. Universe, who's been on the bobsled team for Canada, who's been years as a member of the national cycling team and a strong man in our area. So he accomplished, and he was brilliant scientifically. So I wanted the best coach, and every rep who's listening to this and every VP or direct sales manager, please seek out competent coaches. Check them out. Have conversation with them. Find out where they're coming from. What would they do in such and such a situation? How long has it been since they have prospected or went off to prospect themselves?
That's a damn good question.
Ask those questions. Don't be afraid to, I want to make sure that they find the absolute best match for them, right?
And if they get defensive or they don't answer the question, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
Huge red flag.
So
if your coach, that's supposed to be your coach, gets defensive about their own ability, no. Cut it out. Just get out of there. Run away.
Right. So that was the second thing. The third thing, what was it?
The third thing was your work experience. Is that I saw how you've taken a hell of a journey. I didn't have it memorized or anything like that, but I saw you had a hell of a journey, and I thought it'd be like, well, this guy's been all over the place. I got to talk to this guy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no, literally, you already know you've been all over the place.
Well, I wish I'd gone more, but in this,
when I'm talking about like switches in industry switches, it's like two opposite extremes just bouncing around.
Yeah. Energy efficiency, aviation software, automation documents, business intelligence, energy efficiency in the food business. Yeah, I mean, I've tried a lot of various verticals because my clients were in that. So, my job was to learn, but it shows that if you're good at connecting and you know how to properly sell and prospect, you can just go in any field and just learn the field. They'll teach you the field information, right? And you know how to accomplish the connection.
Yes. And I want to accentuate on understanding someone's industry. There's so few salespeople out there who truly understand an issue or how a business functions.
Yes.
Or how an industry works, how it's all tied together. It's all connected. Everything. It's all connected. If you destroy the plastic trade in Canada, the rice trade in China would fail. I mean, it's all connected like that. I mean, that's a really long shot, but it's all connected. Every business is connected in some way. That's why there's verticals and horizontals, right? Everything touches at some point, at some place. There is a connection, no matter what it is. If people saw everything more of like an ecosystem like that, it'd make it easier. Then when you're in a vertical or an industry, right? That's when you can see really direct connections, and understanding how it flows from top to bottom, how it flows from left to right is incredibly important. And it's not all that complicated. No matter what the industry is, it's really the same thing. Every business is the same. What is it? It's a group of people working toward one goal, you hope, one mission, you also hope, one purpose, you also hope. But that's the thing. One mission, one vision, one purpose, one goal is what they're working toward. And they're trying to create ease or convenience or solve a problem or solve massive problems for other businesses or people out there. And they function where they have a financial part of the company. They have their accounting. They have their sales team. They have their marketing team. They have their customer success team. They have their engineers, if applicable. And then they have their operations people, right? They're all there. They're all function the same way. The problems get passed through the company the same way. The hierarchical structure is almost identical across the board. If you can understand all these moving pieces and how they work together from a fundamental point of view, it doesn't matter what industry you're attacking, that's all the same. It's about the nuance.
Yeah.
It's about the differentiation of language. It's about the differentiation of how the culture of the company works and the way that they communicate with one another and the outside world.
So what you're talking about there is the artistic side of prospecting.
Yeah.
Knowing the language, the culture, the situation of the company, all of those things, the person who's coming from a certain background, so you can have a familiarity and an ease of connection to remove doubt, to remove apprehension, so you can get on to the real deal, which is their problems that you can solve.
Exactly. And if it's a problem you can't solve, introduce them to somebody who can, or just drop the subject because you shouldn't be talking about it. You're creating stress.
That's right. Less is better.
Then that's something I'm learning every day. Less is more. Less is more. I talk too much. I know this.
No.
Oh, yeah, no way. I'll just be in denial. It's fine. Denial's good. I like denial.
No, but you're happy, you know.
There's comfort in denial sometimes.
People appreciate you because I could see you're passionate, and you know, I love that. We need more of guys like you out there. So congratulations for everything you've done so far.
I've got a lot of passion, but I'm absolutely batshit crazy, you know. But that's any of us who have accomplished anything, right? I mean, anybody who trains at cycling as hard as you did is nuts.
Yes. Well, the professionals, they are nuts. They ride about 25 to 30 miles, 30,000 miles a year.
Jesus Christ. If you put that on a car, you would void your warranty. Like,
correct. They do that annually on a bike.
That's insane. Could you imagine putting more miles on your bike than your car? The average person drives 10,000 miles a year in a car.
This week was the World Championships in Belgium.
I caught a glimpse of that when I was sitting at a bar the other day, but
245 kilometers for the race. It's a one-stage race.
That's like 120 miles.
Oh no, it's 180 miles.
It's 180 miles. I'm not great at conversion from kilometers to miles.
It's 180 miles.
Yeah, ounces to liters, I'm great. Or feet to meters, I'm great. Like with that, but as soon as you get to kilometers and miles, I'm totally lost.
Yes. Well, that's what it is. It's really being relevant, being competent, seek a coach, practice like it was your last practice, and keep forging ahead. You're going to get all kinds of bumps in the roads. They'll just make you, it's like putting wood in your fire. They'll just inflame more your fire.
And you have to make mistakes to learn. But the stupid people make mistakes and don't learn from it. They keep repeating it. It's reflecting on your one piece of advice that I'd like to give. I'd like to ask for your top 3 at the end of this, though. But the one piece of advice that I would give people is listen to your phone calls. You don't want to. No one wants to hear themselves or watch themselves recorded. It's embarrassing. Nobody likes that. But once you beat it into your skull hard enough, you know, it doesn't bother you anymore. But look back on the calls that you had where you made mistakes or where you think you did a great job, because you'll see your mistakes when you watch it. Because who's the most hardcore critic of yourself is you. You will see all the little mistakes that you made across the way. And if you're not looking back at those calls, you're not doing yourself any favors.
Correct.
And it's going to hurt.
That's why you need a coach.
Yes. They will look at your calls and then they'll take little snippets of it and be like, that was awful. That was awful. Great job here.
You know, I've learned you have to be very kind to salespeople. They're very sensitive.
Of course.
And when you sell and when you learn to sell and when you're on the journey, I call it's a soul revealing experience to sell. You reveal a lot of your intimate kind of frailties and little kind of inadequacies about how you speak, how you can ad lib quickly and twist it around and take a point that he mentions and make a joke out of it and continue to calm, to decompress the pressure, you know, remove the pressure and just make it more relaxed and smile and laugh. You know, everybody's got to find their own line. The line I use all the time when they ask me and I sense that they're not ready to talk much, I say, I'm just very grateful that I can eat and sleep in a warm bed tonight. I appreciate life today. And they go, oh, that's an interesting philosophical twist, because it's not complicated, but it's deep and it's true.
And it's saying that you're not about money, 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 money. Like people
right.
think salespeople are about.
They understand by that and how I say it that I'm sincere and I'm in no rush to try to gain or grab. I'm there as another person, and we're about to have a valuable conversation for them.
And to ensure that they are qualified too. This is something that Marcus does that he's taught me too, is slowing the sale down is beneficial in a lot of cases, where if they're moving too quickly, they may be a good fit, they're ready to buy, but it's just saying, just, you know what? Let's step back for a second. Let's think about this. Let's talk about this. Or maybe, speak to your team. Let's get back together next week. Even though you could have sold them right there, it's about slowing down. So taking one step back to take two steps forward, because they may not have been qualified, they may not have been ready, or they may not have thought it through the whole way. And that is going to ensure a higher longevity client.
Well, that's why, I coach and I help. I just had 2 coaching sessions with 2 business owners today. We decided to learn how to prospect better so they can do 1 hour a day, but do it well with the right elements, it's like teaching them the backhand or the forehand or the serve in tennis. Practice the serve this way, and just, and when I was coaching squash, I would make sure they would do 2 times more units of time than the 1 unit of lesson. So if I had an hour lesson, they need to practice 2 hours for every 1 hour they take a lesson with me. And when they came back, I could tell that they practiced or not. Same thing with a rep. And this owner of this business wants to know properly how to do things, right? He's smart. He's being strategic for his success. It's good to know how to do things and do it well. You just become a lot more useful and valuable for others.
That's true.
At the end of the day, if you're good at prospecting and good at opening, you got it made. You can go anywhere and sell anything. So my 3 words, my 3 advices, if you allow me, because I think time is of the essence.
Yeah, we're right on time.
Right on time. Is ask yourself very seriously, crystal clear, seriously, why are you in sales?
That's a really good question, because I guarantee you there's a lot of people out there who can't answer it.
Right. So that's the number 1 question. The second one is, if you are deadly serious, are you that serious that you're willing to go out on a limb and not try to get the best edge by learning the best skills? If that's the case, then the third thing is hire a mentor or a coach, or seek coaching from your employer, and make sure that whatever you sell, you are deeply passionate about it. Deeply passionate about it.
Selling is an emotional experience in more ways than one. And it's something where you shouldn't mix emotion in business, but you should be emotional about the business that you do. You're trying to help people when you sell. You're not trying to sell people when you sell. And that's the key difference. If you're in it for the money and you're not trying to, you don't care if someone gets screwed over, you don't care if they're not a good fit, you don't care about any of that, you're not a good fit for what you're selling. You're also going to end up hurting the company too, because high churn and burn clients are toxic to a business, and you actually start just shedding dollars. You're losing, hemorrhaging money from it. And each sale is actually more detrimental than it helps.
Yes,
yeah.
Sir.
Love it. Yeah. So Denis, thank you so much for being on today. Again, everybody, this is Down the Rabbit Hole podcast with your host, Rob Turley. I have Denis Champagne here. He's awesome. Denis, what's the best place for people to contact you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, really. LinkedIn is an amazing place. Denis, Denis, and Champagne, like the wine, on the 31st of December, but you can drink it other times of the year. And just find me if you want to have a chat, questions. I have, various interviews on prospecting. I'm there. I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Love it. And of course, this is sponsored by, you guessed it, White Rabbit Intel, and Sales Enablement Artificial Intelligence for sales intelligence, where you can know more, win more, and grow and close often, because you have the intelligence that you need to understand if there's going to be a good human-to-human connection, and making predictions of doing so. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope everybody has a great night, and I will hear and have you listen next week. Hashtag DTRH podcast. And if you post anything about this, please tag me. I would appreciate it. I'll even comment back. I'll make sure to. I've been getting better about that.
If you enjoyed this episode, follow Down the Rabbit Hole podcast for new episodes weekly on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, and YouTube. If you'd like to apply to be featured on the podcast or recommend a featured guest, please feel free to email us at theteam@whiterabbitintel.com.